Introduction to Flex. On behalf of ProThoughts, we are introducing this particular topic for the first time. And what we're going to cover is very quickly the basis of Flex, the enterprise transformation, the route from which it starts off is the enterprise agility. All of us would have heard about agility, agile, business agility, so on and so forth. This is the step which carves out the journey or transcend this journey beyond the word called agility. It goes to enterprise level, complete enterprise level. And what we do today is I introduce a great framework, and my sincere thanks to the World of Project Management Institute and a great author of this framework, Agile-Flex. He used to be the CEO and founder of Net Objectives as an organization, which PMI acquired 2019, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So along with the discipline Agile Consortium, PMI acquired Net Objectives as well. And my first request to all of you is, when you go back to today, do a lot of research, because this 30-40 minutes is not going to be sufficient enough. I'll just pass on some of the words to you, which might be just the keywords to you. My job here is to just leave that thought process in your mind and leave you worrying about what's it. So there is still a website called for Net Objectives and a lot more details, but now it's been migrated into the PMI. So you'll get a lot of material in the PMI. And thanks to Agile-Flex presentation that he made in Jan 2020, and this is with reference to that presentation, I'm bringing it to you so that probably those who have not heard him earlier, you can get a snippet of what he had mentioned about this. This is coming from the great founder himself. Okay, so the purpose of any organization, and I probably don't need to even tell you this because most of you would be aware of it. Quite a few of you might be even leaving the purpose, leaving, when I say L-I-V-I-N-G, not L-E-A-V-N-G, leaving your purpose for the core, and you leave the purpose for your passion, you leave the purpose for the organization, you leave the purpose for yourself. So the purpose of any organization to me is the core heart of that is customer. I would rather go a little beyond that word of customer and go to stakeholders, right? And a customer being at heart of the definition of the stakeholder, which you would have heard n number of times from multiple people, and I'm sure you would have dealt with many difficult stakeholders in your career as well. The customer, right? So it's all about customers. Think about it. If you didn't have a customers, what the organizations would work for? Two types of customers, internal, external, right? Every organization has to make sale, obviously. It has to make revenue, have to make profitability. That's what's in it for them. What makes valuable to organization? They move beyond this revenue, profitability, bottom line, top line, the balance sheets, income loss statements. Of course, they are mandatory, no doubt about it. Quarter on quarter, month on month. However, what's one thing is important, which I realized in my 27 years career, is you go back to your origin root and ask yourself the purpose, you being the organization being in this particular field, and your field itself, your domain itself, why is it existing? Think about it. If you didn't have a root, would you exist today? No, not at all. And that root is customer. So this entire journey, customer to customer. And that's a loop. And today we are going to close that loop for you. Many organizations, believe me, 95% organizations in the world, only 5% have got closed loop. 95 have open loops. And that's brutal fact. Everybody cares about the customer request. Everybody cares about completing the request. Everybody cares about objectives. Everybody cares about outputs. People really care about all this. What they miss to care about, closing the loop with the customer, and the most important thing, continuous improvement. Though people keep saying that we do improve continuously, I bet, my honest bet on the table, cross your heart and ask yourself, ask your organization, downwards, upwards. When I did this soul searching organizational activity, I honestly found that I'm not there yet. We need to move beyond this. And I somehow, to the great gurus and the organization like this, I found this something which is very, very interesting. Many of you would have seen this kind of scenarios in your organizations. And the only 2 cents in this presentation today from my side is just take it. Just take it back to your organization and see if you can implement this. Right? So, enterprise agility, the word itself talks about business value. And whenever we spoke about this particular purpose, it's all about driving that value to your stakeholders or to your customers, right? And these keywords that you could really look at this, right, that help you to drive that value. Okay, so the enterprise agility obviously is a typical definition of enterprise agility. The realization of the highest business value in the shortest amount of time, right? No matter how high the risks are, right? Taking into embracing those risks, but consistently, sustainability, delivering the value. And value could be anything. Value could be qualitative, quantitative, defined by customer, and probably not by you, right? And how do we do it? Do you think that the entire smart city in any country could be built in a day's time, in a week's time, in a month's time? Probably not, right? It's smallest increment it gets through. Okay. So if we need to achieve this, what do we need? These are some of the common keywords which you would have gone through, heard any number of times, and my endeavor here to just remind you about this. That nothing else. There's nothing that I'm going to teach you or tell you here. I'm just going to remind you this red color words. Whenever you talk about agile teams, I'm sure you know that they are all self-organized, self-managed, self-encouraged teams. They don't need extrinsic motivation. They are internally charged up. They are internally motivated always. They don't need to push. That's a real good high-performance agile team. And whenever I think about agile teams, I think about, okay, I live in my nice cocoon. Okay, I live in my great team of having a good, nice norm setup. Okay, having a good team charter at the absolute bottom level. However, ask yourself, ask your teams, how many of them have heard about enterprise level vision, mission, goals, objectives, and strategies? Not that I expect all of them, not that I expect now 1 year or 2 years experience guy to even learn about it, because that's leaders' responsibilities. What do we do? What do we as leaders do in the companies? Right? What do we do? I'll tell you what do we do. And that's going to be eye-opener. My statements might be contrast today to what you do, but I'm going to be absolutely brutally honest with you guys, because that's what I realized. And that's what I'm going to tell you. Alignment. Do they know what alignment is? In your car, right? The belts, the gears, okay? The clutch, the brakes. If they're not aligned, what happens on the highway? You get jam, right? If they get disaligned automatically, they get jam. And then what happens? Traffic jam, isn't it? There'll be huge stuck up a queue, in fact, instead of a continuous flow. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Alignment to the core purpose. The key part here is, what do we need is, we need feedbacks from down up, not up down. Up down is absolutely needed, no doubt about it, but down up. Interesting. And if you are the leader of the organization, you are a team leader, you are the project manager, you are a scrum master, you are the product owner, or you are a program manager, you are a program head, you are the portfolio head, whoever you are, your responsibility and ownership to curtail that, encourage the teams to give down up. And you play an orchestrator role. A true guide is an orchestrator. Facilitator role, truly a facilitator, a coach, a mentor. Let me take you to some facts. Don't you think we live this way in the organization? Isn't it? Absolutely. Everybody, right? How's the RBS, resource breakdown structure? This is your resource breakdown structure, isn't it? Top down, right? It's always built top down, correct? I've hardly seen built bottoms up. You have a 40-member team, then you have a team leader. Now, having said this, you have a different functions, different organization structure, also different project organization structure, etc., etc. And the vertical flow is the managing flow. This is how we work as a hierarchy. However, you know what? How the teams work? The teams never work like this. The teams work in this way. They work horizontally. There might be cross-functional teams which depend on each other. The output of this team become input here, output of this team become it. So they probably are dependent on each other. Even if they are independent, that's how the layer work. So now tell me and give me your feedback on the WhatsApp chat here. I'm sorry, on the chat here. Who create value? The horizontal flow or vertical flow? I'm not asking who should create value. I'm asking who creates value. Let me see your responses, guys. Who create value? In current situation, in your real life, who create value? Is that vertical flow, typical RBS, OBS, whatever you call it as, or your horizontal flow? Okay, lot of people saying horizontal, vertical. Thank you so much. Okay, and who says horizontal? We not say both according to me. All right, thanks. Do you want to hear my experience? Yes, it is. You are so right. It's supposed to be created by this year. Supposed to be. But I find challenges. Can you Put your thoughts on the chat again. What challenges could be? Why, if somebody is not unable to create a value that I supposed to deliver to stakeholders, why do we not? Put your thoughts on the chat. Thank you, Manish. Nice hearing you. Lack of authority control, priorities, all right. And what? Business values. And what else? Not empowered, seriously. And what? Decision may need higher management support. Thank you, Vinod. And lack of clarity, global objective. Oh, very good. Alignments, absolutely. To the vision, absolutely. Thank you so much. Governance, very good. Very high governance. We should have just a lean governance. Good. Lots of roadblocks, hindrances in between in terms of approvals required. Wow. Dependencies on each other. Technical dependencies, one thing we can work out. You don't have a choice but to go through the demand. You have a multiple teams, right? Whether you have a multi-product team, multi-agile teams with multiple people or multi-functional teams, you would definitely have dependencies. However, vertical dependencies, I need some approval from some leader here and I get delay getting approval. I wait. So who managed the value? Value is true this way. Right? Value created this way, the horizontal way. The value is being managed this way. That's the bottleneck. Now over to Vishnu. Is how we manage our people. Why? Because you as a leader, I as a leader, are focusing managing people. How these guys work, let me appraise this, let me see the productivity, let me see the velocity. Then what's the use of that self-empowered team, self-managed team, self-organized team? If you had to do this, any traditional organization would do it. Even 130 years back, they used to do. Then what's the difference between you and Hitler? Well, that's a fact. See what you do, left side. Where your focus is. How much are they utilized? I am not saying, I'm not against that. Utilization is core, 80% utilized, 85% billable utilization for the organization, absolutely required. I understand that. Some of the things are mandatory, some of the KPIs are mandatory, absolutely. We need to move beyond. Those are taken for granted. Why? People know we need to produce 85%. 8 hours we are working, 7 hours minimum we need to put. Week on week 35 out of 40. And bill the customer. Fixed price project, T&M project, we don't care. Our organization mandated that minimum 85% productivity, the billability should be there. Out of 85%, my productivity should be 98% as a KPI. Measured week to week, or maybe iteration to iteration, every 2 weeks. Doing quality work is defined, definitely quality KPIs, absolutely important, no doubt. I'm not saying this is not important. More than this, what the leader's job more is to focus lesser, let the team manage that. Let the team lead these things. Give them empowerment. You manage external world. You manage value externally. Trying to market for a product or service or end result. Internal or external, both stakeholders. Get the visibility of the stakeholders inside and get your visibility of the product service outside to the stakeholder. Manage the hindrances, manage your obstacle, manage the roadblocks that your teams face. Collaboration between the teams. I've managed in my one of the past organization, I had 130 people team, a small team, completely agile. So we break up to 13 different teams of 10 people each. Ideally speaking, it should have been 7, 8, but it's okay. We somehow managed 10 people team. So in the Scrum teams, 13 different teams across all the different countries. So, headquarters of the organization was in Europe, of course, and the company was not too old, started in 1985. One thing we realized over a period of time is measuring the key performance indices, and with those KPIs, giving a value, it's not going to be only sufficient enough. I got a lot of realization there because I felt my key job, rather than focusing on the teams, how they work, what's the productivity, what's the velocity, how much they're utilized, I will go beyond that. Guys, you are different teams. One is working in Karlsruhe in Germany. One of the teams from Karlsruhe, and one was in Amsterdam. So between Amsterdam and Germany, Karlsruhe. So Netherlands and Karlsruhe, are there any cross connects? Do you need help? What are you waiting for? Now, when you go beyond this level, you think little differently. And you as either the leaders already or potential leaders, I'm trying to infuse few things in the mind. That doesn't mean that you should not do this right now. Whatever stages you are in your career, you definitely should do. Having said that, your role as a leader in future, in case you aspire to be a good leader, focus on right things at the right side. Welcome to the value chain. Thank you, Vijay. Stakeholder alignment. Welcome to the value stream. A lot of you would have heard of this, isn't it? The whole statement only means one thing to me. That's it. I'm not going to even read the statement for you. You can self-read yourself. I'm not going to read apple to apple in this line. One thing it means to me is it all starts from stakeholder or a customer, and it all ends at customer. That's it. That's the reason I leave. That's the reason as an entrepreneur, why do entrepreneur exist? Because I have customers, probably like you. It comes from your pain area, start from, and it comes to your delight, goes back. A value created. Most of you, again, a lot of you, probably if not most of you, would have heard about discipline agile, right? And this is what discipline agile also started with. But this framework that I'm bringing to you is based on this principle. Absolutely important for us to understand the value stream principle based on the value chain. And I'm going to show you very quickly the enterprise flow and how does enterprise transform using the flow. Okay. Now, think about yourselves. At times, Don't look at what I have written here. Forget that. But just look at it. Isn't it the real life scenarios? Is there any single flow of work whereby you have just gone ahead, just doing added value, adding value without a single waste? Not practically possible, right? I agree with you. Not possible. There'll be a lot of dependencies. Absolutely a lot of dependencies. No doubt about it. The important part is, how do we reduce the lean principle? All of you heard? What does lean say? LEN. It's either reduction of the waste or elimination of the waste. Now, elimination of the waste from theoretical perspective is good word. However, practical perspective, it's but the theory of lean, whatever Toyota production system also achieved over a period of time. Six Sigma also talks about 3.4 in a million. And zero defect. See, this is your aspiration, zero defect. Through all these things, through the world of Six Sigma, through the world of lean, through the world of enterprise lean. Yes, that's how your vision should be. But do you really achieve? Not really, because of a lot of challenges. So are you supposed to achieve? May not be necessary, guys, honestly, practically. But can you reach to that level, to the target? Possibly, yes. Identify the non-productive time and productive time within your team. When the team is self-sufficient to identify within 85 hours, sorry, 85% or 95%, this were the productive hours or productive time, and this were non-productive time. You know what? When the team realizes this themselves, the leader don't need to focus on the productivity and velocity of the world. They help reducing this waiting time between two people. They help encourage them, or rather they help remove the roadblocks between them. Or management approval. If there is a management approval required or go ahead required in a typical governance framework between phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase exit, phase gate, phase stage exit, etc., whatever you call it as. If there are challenges around the approvals, external stakeholders, etc., the leader's focus is here. This is a very common and very interesting side. Always it encourages me to talk about this slide. You think left side of this is useful? Think again. Yes, absolutely. All the part of my projects, my product development as well. I do my projects to develop a product, correct, or a service. So, which will include my entire life cycle of getting requirements, right? Eliciting requirements, analyzing requirements, doing the planning with a stakeholder, without stakeholders, within a team, without team, designing it, getting the specifications out, collaborating with the cross-functional team, doing a coding, testing, and all sorts of tests, right? That you all know about. Unit tests, integration tests, etc., etc. Deploying, releasing, well, traditional project lifecycle or agile project life, whichever project lifecycle you use. Iterative, incremental. These are the common elements that you do in your day-to-day scenario, don't you? Same do I. Now, what's required is this. That's it. Your focus here. That's exactly the Flex framework. Is that something new to you? Definitely not. Is a Flex new to you? By end of this next 10 minutes, you'll say, oh no, this we know this. But Saurabh, this is very difficult to implement in real life. And I agree. If that was so simple, you weren't required in your organization, my friend. I was not required as well in my organization. You are there to resolve pain areas, remove the bottlenecks. Have you heard about Elihu Goldratt. Put on a chat. How many of you heard about it? Put on a chat saying that yes, you have heard about it. And if you heard about him, what's the principle Elihu Goldratt mentioned? Put in a chat box. Put in a comment box quickly. How many of you heard about the great Israel scientist? Absolutely. What did he talk about? Thank you so much. Absolutely. Goal setting, theory of constraint. Absolutely. Absolutely. TOC principles, drum buffer rope, my manufacturing experiences on DBR. A lot of you might not have even heard about it, but that's true. What did he talk about? He all talk about bottlenecks. What he said, identify the bottlenecks. Now, if you are driving on the roads, hit with a big stone, it's a bottleneck, and there's the lane is very small, right? There's a bottleneck, so you can't move around. What do you do? Roadblock, correct? Obviously, you can either wait for someone to remove, or you get out of the car and remove. You're walking down the street. Similarly, this way, you hit a bottleneck, right? But there's a big pothole. But there's a way around, a small one, and you try to get into that way, right? But how many people get into that way? Only 1, 2, maybe in sequence, maybe in queue. This is exactly your real life scenarios also. You have a bottlenecks in your organizational work, and the queue is big, right? Why you think it's a big? Because the path to move is very narrow, and people get queued up. Rather than getting 4 at simultaneously, only one goes. One after another. What do you do? Well, can you stay forward? No. You just that lane. Theory of constraint. The great scientist, heads off to him, he said that don't undermine constraints and don't be afraid of constraints. Focus on constraints rather than moving around it. Repeat. He said, focus on constraints rather than moving around, going around side by. Focus all the energies to eliminate the constraint first. Entire team focuses on the team on that constraints. For example, one of your team member working in a team, he get too much of a work, and your upstream and downstream both are just sitting idle with no work because of the productivity of upstream downstream. That particular person in the middle, he got stuck up. You cannot lie idle. Your job is to help each other. You would have heard and seen it, right? Whether it's upstream, downstream, right? Your productivity would be higher, somebody else's productivity might be lesser. If time permits, I can give you a great story of how on the weekend, a great leader took his troop towards a nice picnic. But yeah, if time permits, I'll talk about, and if still interested. So this way, you help each other remove the delays. Isn't that simple enough? You might think, oh, what's a big deal? We do it. That's all. That's all is required. If you do it diligently. And if you do it, scale it up. If you don't, nothing to worry. Take it seriously and get going. Removing not only your constraints, but each other's constraints as well. And what type of waste in the lean, 7 different types of waste that you can know, Google, you'll get to know what all kind of waste you have. Right? Wherever you can get bottlenecks, etc., you'll get this. Right? My objective here was to just introduce this great. In fact, there is a good amount of alignment between theory of constraint And this entire lean system, the whole lean system, way back in earlier 1900s, thanks to the great world of Toyota who implemented, but it's even beyond that, before that. And today's scenario, completely, even including Agile. If you talk about Scrum, if you talk about Kanban, if you talk about DSWDM, and whichever framework you use, including the SAFe and Discipline Agile, cannot bypass lean, because that's coming out of lean. Everywhere you'll find some or other implementation of lean structure. So conceptually, what we need to do is what we just thought about. Provide a value, starting from customer to customer, stakeholder to stakeholder, remove the bottlenecks, that's exactly what Flex is all about, my friends. And next 5 minutes, I'm just going to take you through the cycle. This cycle will be very much visible to you when you do your own study, as I requested you to do. Might not be quite visible because this is very dense, but I'll take you step by step very quickly. And thanks to the great mentors like Al Shalaway. This is where we start. Let's talk about. It's all about customers. Okay. First, start with the customer in mind, customer at the heart. Have a clear focus on the goals. And then, whenever we think about all the worlds of the vision, mission, goals, objectives, all top-down driven, leadership driven. You all are aware of this. So vision, mission, goals, objective, strategies, right? Have a clear focus in mind. This is how your Flex framework starts. Okay. It's not bottoms up. It's not bottoms up. It doesn't start with the teams, but it starts with the top. Now let's see how does it cut across. Define your in the after strategies, alignment with your strategic goals, objectives with the vision of the company. You have a portfolios and programs, correct? Which all of you know. So define the portfolios. Most of the organization, multi-billion-dollar organization, multi-country organization would have a different portfolios defined. Like you have your investment portfolio, for example, right? You have stocks, you have bonds, you have the funds, mutual funds, you have insurances, etc. You have a portfolio. Within the portfolio, you might have a multiple programs. So how the portfolios are created? Why do a portfolio exist? Because you have some mission to achieve. You have certain endeavors to complete. Right? So that's how portfolios are driven, and the programs are created out of it, right? And programs create the projects. You know that absolute cycle. The roles at the level of respective portfolio program projects come from program, obviously, and the product cut across this. Okay, the project and program together. And your portfolio management can have multiple products. When you have multiple products, you might have multiple programs to engage, and you have multiple roles, and you have a cross-functional teams, right? So what's required is this upside down approach, right? And coming from the business, I'm not going to get getting into details because I know you know it. It goes now to the horizontal flow. See this, where you say the value is created, right? Now see this, your typical cycle of development team, testing team, etc., your implementation team, integration team, whoever, right? Flow goes down like that. So the team plans, correct? You have iteration, you have a scrum, and sprints, and you have a multiple planning across. Even if you use the SAFe, coming from the program management work, go down by bottom till the level of the respective cross-functional team. They do the planning, they do self-allocation. It's a real self-empowered teams will do allocation of the work on them, on their own. They don't, in fact, allow would not be right word. They don't expect anybody else to allocate them. They are so smart enough to pick up their respective work based on their technical capabilities and competencies. So planning allocation down. Your sprint starts, the sprint get developed, or the work get developed here, development, testing, etc. happen. Then implementation goes post integration. So you'll have a release cycle where your actual implementation, release, etc., would work through. I'm sorry, the implementation integration happens here, and once it's done, it goes to releases, right? A potential release, okay, and then what you get is this cycle, and this cycle is where you think that you involve customers, and I tell you, not at all. As you all aware, customers are engaged throughout the journey of this. If not already, then should be everywhere in the entire value chain, right? How does a value chain become value stream? The journey of this customer's request to the customer delight flows like this, and customers' visibility into each aspect throughout the life cycle. That's what you go through. The plan to study act to the plan to check act of the world that we removed from PDCA model, and we do a PDCA nowadays, right? Because it's the assessment of what you executed. That's called study, right? Your assessment of what you executed, and then you adjust, you realize, you learn. You adjust, you realize, you learn. You adjust, you realize, you learn. Whether you put up a lessons learned document, whether you put a retrospective document, whichever way you got, whichever way your documents are or artifacts are, the bottom line is simple. The bottom line is it has to go back to the customer, and the flow has to get completed like this. That's Flex. What's a big deal? You know what the big deal is? Implementation. And in one day you will not be able to implement this. You will not realize the value instantaneously. This 1 hour you'll hear from me. Tomorrow, in the scheme of things, you might forget. Absolutely. And it's my suggestion, go back and do more research about this. And there is a definite certification which is kept at the highest level of any certification today in the world of Agile by PMI. I'm not going to tell you that today. There's a certification around, and that's kept as the highest value by PMI. Some of you already would be knowing it, right? Yeah. You can research on the certification, but this is what I wanted to tell you today, guys. And once you have this, then obviously the benefit starts. The whole value stream would be able to not only handle multiple portfolio programs, projects, products, services, release, they become so close to each other. They becomes continuous flow of team members' work. When I worked with those 130 people over a period of time, right? We say we don't get into project teams, right? We go into product teams in Agile. That's exactly what we also faced. Over the long period of time, long-standing teams realize this value through working with each other constantly, sprint after sprint, releases after releases, plan after plans, programs after programs. They moved up the value chain, and the moment they move up the value chain in terms of getting the hierarchy, promotions, etc., they further realize the value of this. It becomes so important. Shed off all the egos, shed off all the hierarchical thoughts. Try to see where all you can identify the constraints or roadblocks and remove. That's it. Support, guide. That's it. The layer of this, it's like defense layer. No external competitors should attack this great wall. It's like a wall of China. So stubborn. Inside, there's a unity. Inside, there's a stakeholder or customer who believes in you and you believe in them, guys. That's it. It can handle multiple development groups, testing groups, whatever. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I just wanted to tell you this today. I'm Saurabh Parekh. Probably a lot of you knows me, but yeah, I don't want to show you my introduction. I'm not here. ProThoughts. Most of you would have heard about the world of ProThoughts. Well, this is we do a PMP courses as well. So most of you, whether you are PMP, PGMP, PFMP, right? So you have opportunity to, you always hungry about PDUs, right? So we have launched a unique way to launch this. In fact, 60 PDUs which are required especially for PMP or for any other programs that you need PDUs. We have a plan of action which is a little different through the various different programs that we have. Obviously, this is the PDU code. In case your objective was to gain a PDU code, one PDU today, right? This is the code you can apply. So while you type your questions on the chat, right? Thanks for asking. I'm just jump on the questions, but I'm going to launch my poll before that. Try and attempt the poll. How many of you heard about this? About the flags? You can just say, yeah, you didn't. You've heard, but you've never implemented, didn't know, whatever you feel comfortable, feel very honest, because I'm just trying to size how many of you had heard about this flexible word called flex, or the word of flow of enterprise transformation that we call it as a flex, whichever both are so aligned to each other. Give a flexibility to the teams, to independent individuals, to the leaders, and of course to the organization. Why? Because core heart is customer. And a quick check on the second question. It says of the poll, flex framework doesn't include what? This is a small examination type question for you guys, a test question. In case you have seen my slides properly, you'll be able to answer this. Let me go to the chat polls results. Come on, guys, quickly answer. You still have some more time. 10 seconds more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Thank you. The results in front of you. Good to see 63%. I expected that. I expected 70-30 or maybe 80-20 rather. Good to see 15% here. Good to see 90% expected. Absolutely. I was expecting only 0%, but 2% people still done that. Excellent, guys. Thank you so much. And others can always strive for, if not tomorrow, maybe next year. Keep this in your mind. That is a new framework coming from PMI. And those who are inclined, those who are hungry about a certification, there is a certification on this as well. Okay, you can do your R&D. I'm not going to feed you in. Of course, that's not my job. The second question was, which word didn't include? You know what? There was a development word. There was a planning word. There was continuous improvement word. The only word could be eliminated iterative approaches. It is not, of course, iterative approach is part of the agile, no doubt about it, but that word wasn't there. I was just trying to check with this question, how many of you are still with me? But not too bad. 63% of them. Correct. Thank you so much. So I'm going to just give another quick feedback poll on this, and if you could just help me out very quickly, and meanwhile, while you answer these polls, give me a feedback. I'm going to look at your questions now. Rajaraman, I knew that you'll ask. Let me come back to it. Thank you so much. Rajaraman is asking, what is the name of the certification you mentioned kept at the highest level? Okay, let me ask others. Anybody knows this name of the certification? And I'll come back to that answer to that. Bhaskar says, could you please let us know what's the difference between a product and a project? Bhaskar, thank you for asking this question. This is a product. All the activities that I do to create this product is a project. This is a product. All the activities that I do is a product. This is a product. My Wi-Fi is a service. All activities that I perform is a project to launch the service. Simple. More theoretical definitions, you can look at your frameworks and look at Google. You'll get a good amount of definition differences, etc. This is a practical difference, a very simple layman terms, my friend. All right. Questions? Questions. We go to Q&A session panel. Sandeep, questions from you, your side. Anant, any question? Vijay, any question? Dhananjay, any questions? Michael, any questions? Vinod, questions? Vaidyanathan, questions? Mr. Dedia, any questions? Mr. Lalwani, any questions? Agile-Flex, Anand, thanks for asking. Discipline Agile. Write down the word in case you have not heard. This was the little advanced to it. It took a DA as a framework and it moved up. I did DA sessions multiple times. In fact, I thought a lot of you might have already heard about DA, but what else can I do? This is the latest, I would rather say, built on top of DA, and DA, of course, is built on top of entire Agile and Lean. So DA is a discipline Agile. You can do your own R&D. We keep doing the webinar, so we'll again have a DA webinar for sure. But DA, in one word, Anand, it's just a toolkit. It is neither a framework, nor a approach, nor a methodology. It's a toolkit. Toolkit of what? Choices. Toolkit of multiple options. Toolkit of goals, which allow you to achieve your real value by doing the respective work. It gives you a ready-made reckoner, 600 different options in the entire world of DA. 600 options. I'm all talking about end-to-end, whatever you need as a tool for delivering your value, project, service, product, whatever you do, program, 600 options are more than sufficient enough. And when you look at a PMI website, if you're a PMI member, right, there is a free download of a book called Choose Your Wow. Choose your way of working. Download that if you're a member. It's a free download now, which wasn't there. Wonderful book, amazing 400 pages. Read. Whenever you get time, read. And Flex, Anand, is FL, flow of enterprise transformation. The leaders should focus on the managing the flow rather than managing the people. That's how this entire framework was created, keeping customer in mind or stakeholder in mind. The flow goes from top to bottom, again back to top and customer. Flow for enterprise transform. How enterprises transform top to bottom, bottom to top. That you shape. And DA Flex, because it's sit on top of DA, and DA itself sit on all these independent frameworks, Anand. Agile, Lean, etc., 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 etc. It is agnostic of your respective frameworks like Scrum, Lean, Kanban, etc. Rajaram asking, how can a DA fit managed services engagement where there is no much of enhancement on development? Fantastic. Thank you so much. You know what, Rajaram? In the incidents management, right? Have you tried using Kanban principles or Lean principles or Lean Kanban? Have you at all worked on work priority tickets based on Kanban methodology or Lean methodology? It's as good as this. Agile, maybe you're thinking Agile is for projects or product creation, but for the managed services, let's say 10 years, the company like Infosys in India supporting, what you call British Airways, 10 years signed, MSA, Master Services Agreement signed, Rajaram. What would be the focus on? Only product creation, solution creation? Incidents would definitely be there, right? And Agile framework can definitely pitch in. Whether you call the incidents, support ticket, trouble tickets, still there. You just need to figure out how to use them. Dipankar, thank you for a feedback. Give me a moment. Check. If there is a cross connect on PD code. 1 second. Give me a moment, guys. I'm going to tell you this. All right, guys. Sorry, my apologies. Okay. I have a new PDU code, guys. In case that PDU code doesn't work, 4032 is our ProThoughts PMI registration number. Or ATP number, what do you call it? 4032 8WNMXU. Typing it on the chat. Dipankar, don't worry. You can still connect it. Welcome. All right. So Dipankar says, looks like a PD. Okay, fine. The PDO I answered. Managed services agreement. How do we select? Dhananjay asking, how do we select this flex for the project? Example, Stacy complex. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Dhananjay. Well, it's very much related to how you interpreted Stacy. Now, how does it connect? In the world of projects, why do you do the projects? To deliver something. What do you deliver? End result. Ultimately, what end result gives value. Now, let's remember the flow, Dhananjay. Vertical flow and then horizontal value. Vertical flow of information, horizontal value creation. Don't you think in your projects also, In the world of Stacy also, there are multiple functional teams who connect with each other. They have a dependencies among them, roadblocks also, right? Think about it. Between two functional teams, can you identify delay and curb them? First implementation of your eliminate the waste, apply lean there, or reduce the weight. Elimination may not be possible, practical. Reduce the waste. How come? Measure the waste. For example, handover. Okay, training period, and all the guys not available in training, or a handover session, TOI session, transfer of information going on, and you depend on few people who are probably not there. Handing over to operations team, you can't close the project unless you have closed all the issues, handed over properly to operations team, etc. Forget about that. Within project life cycle, when you go from that requirements gathering to developing a deliverables, you would have a n number of folks from different teams. Tell me one thing where you cannot use the Flex. Flex is not just at a portfolio management or a at the top level. No, you saw the Flex. It's end to it's just about customer. If a Starbucks can create that kind of a value which others cannot, you've done your job. Okay. Claim code, I put it on a chat box. Any more questions? Bhaskar asked, I have worked on IAMs. How can we? Okay, Bhaskar, probably we might need another half a session for this on IAMs. I'll give you a small example, Bhaskar. A simplistic kit. Okay. My Oracle application is not working because it's not authenticating with a database. Okay. The front end is Oracle, obviously. Back end is also Oracle DB. Okay, both application and DB. Now, within the same step, when I'm using my front end interface, okay, it's giving some error. I raise IAM. Bhaskar is my great tester. How does he get engaged? You know how to get Bhaskar engaged. I don't need to tell you this. Now, what will Bhaskar do? There is an incident, and there will be severities, right, Bhaskar? Severity 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my alone, one person alone facing this incident, so severity 4. But if I am a CEO of a company, it will be severity 2. Now it's not 1. Now, if the whole organization facing some problem in working with HANA, SAP HANA, the ERP software, right? Severity 1 incident would be raised, right? Think about it, Bhaskar. You are leading an agile team of 5-7 people, including developers, testers, etc. Think about it. One IAM comes, how your enterprise flow will work. Top level pressure comes. You have a product backlog, correct? You have a product backlog of all the multiple requirements which are prioritized, correct? You have your sprints going on or iterations going on. All of a sudden, the CEO ticket will come, and you don't have an incident management team for any cost. You break one of the team of the iterations, and this was my lessons learned in the real life. So we created IAM teams dedicatedly to support IAM, and the flow they go through, absolute same flow. But they add the value, how? Not only meeting SLAs of 4-hour resolution or 2-hour resolution, but they add some value by communicating to customer immediately upon receipt. Hey, I got it. Is that different? Is that different? Is that different than what you and I thought or learned so far? The art of communication? No. Just pick up the phone and talk to us. How do I build it? This kind of teams, IAM teams, using the Flex. Practical challenge. That's where I say, go incrementally. Develop procedure. Develop a way of getting your IAMs. If you are using, for example, Remedy as a software, BMC Remedy, Bhaskar, okay, you use software, no doubt about it. That's a great help. Beyond that, it's you and I who realize save 1, save 2, save 3, or priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, correct? So if you're a leader, don't ask your project team to get into IAM. Project also will get screwed, and this people will lose the focus on the project also. That's what exactly I did. Separate team of 7, 8, 10 people on IAM. Let them for a while be on the bench when they don't have tickets to manage. Make sense? It's not difficult. Ankur, Agile Manufacturing, 7 September. I'm coming back next Tuesday with Agile Manufacturing topic. Already planned. You get invites. Yeah, that's in for CCRs. 10 minutes up, almost. So I'm going to probably, okay, there is a question from Q&A. Duki Shetty, Ramakrishna, can we correlate Agile and Scrum? Duki Shetty, Agile is a word. It's a we call framework, okay, or it's a like a fatherly figure. The Scrum we call this a methodology. Scrum is also called a framework. But Agile is like a parental. Under Agile, you might have Scrum, right? You might have various different frameworks, which are all called Agile frameworks. Agile is, for me, it's a business word. What is Agile? It's a dynamism. It's a flexibility. It's nothing related to the world of IT or the world of product development. Nothing related to that. Scrum maybe, right? The great rugby game, from which Scrum came on, right? It might be related to your development teams, etc. But Agile, it's a business word. It's a parental layer under which all these different frameworks could work. So it's a parental framework to all these small frameworks. Did it give some value to you guys? So much. I'll see you back and next Tuesday. End the session with that. Thank you so much. Have a nice week ahead and good weekend ahead.